There is a place on Earth where the landscape seems almost unreal. A world of endless white. Mountains rise from the ice. Massive icebergs drift through dark water. And for much of the year, the sun barely appears above the horizon. This is Antarctica, the coldest continent on Earth, the driest continent on Earth, and one of the most isolated places known to humanity. At first glance, Antarctica may look empty, but beneath its frozen surface lies an extraordinary world. There are ancient mountains buried under kilometers of ice. There are enormous lakes hidden beneath the continent. There are rivers flowing in complete darkness. And there is a record of Earth's climate preserved inside the ice itself. Some of this ice fell as snow hundreds of thousands of years ago. Some of it is even older. Antarctica is not simply a frozen desert. It is a frozen archive of our planet. And the deeper scientists look, the more surprising it becomes. So what really lies beneath the ice? And why does this remote continent matter to the entire world? To understand Antarctica, we first need to understand what makes this place so different from anywhere else on Earth. Antarctica surrounds the South Pole. It is almost completely covered by ice. The continent itself is enormous. It is larger than Europe, and it is larger than Australia. But almost all of Antarctica's surface is covered by an ice sheet. In some places, the ice is more than 4 kilometers thick. Imagine standing on a frozen landscape. Then imagine that beneath your feet is enough ice to reach deeper than the height of many mountains. This enormous ice sheet contains roughly 90% of the world's ice. It also holds most of the planet's fresh water in frozen form. But Antarctica is not simply a giant block of ice. Beneath the surface is a continent with mountains, valleys, plains, and ancient rock. Much of this landscape has been hidden for millions of years, and this is where Antarctica becomes truly fascinating. Scientists have used radar and other instruments to look through the ice. What they discovered was remarkable. Under the frozen surface are enormous mountain ranges. There are deep valleys. There are huge canyons. And there are places where the bedrock lies far below sea level. One of the most extraordinary discoveries is Lake Vostok. It is a massive body of liquid water buried beneath the Antarctic ice. The lake has remained isolated beneath the ice for an incredibly long time. It exists because pressure from the enormous ice sheet combines with heat coming from deeper inside the Earth. The ice above it acts like a giant insulating blanket, and Lake Vostok is not alone. Scientists have discovered hundreds of subglacial lakes beneath Antarctica. Some of them are connected by hidden channels. Water can move beneath the ice even though the surface above remains frozen. In other words, Antarctica has a hidden water system, a world of lakes and rivers that we cannot see from the surface. And this raises another fascinating question. If water exists beneath the ice, could life exist there too? Antarctica looks lifeless, but the continent and the surrounding ocean support a remarkable ecosystem. The most famous inhabitants are probably penguins. But penguins are only one part of the story. The waters around Antarctica contain enormous populations of krill. These tiny marine animals are incredibly important. They form a major part of the food chain. Whales feed on them. Seals depend on the Antarctic ecosystem. And millions of seabirds rely on the rich waters around the continent. During the short Antarctic summer, the ocean becomes especially productive. Sunlight returns. Sea ice retreats in many areas. And microscopic organisms called phytoplankton begin to grow. These tiny organisms may seem insignificant, but they form the foundation of much of the Antarctic food web. They also absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So even this remote frozen continent plays a role in Earth's climate system. But Antarctica has another secret. Its ice contains information about the atmosphere of the distant past. Snow falls in Antarctica, year after year. The snow slowly becomes compressed. The weight of new snow pushes older layers deeper. Eventually, the snow becomes solid ice. But tiny bubbles of ancient air can remain trapped inside. Scientists can drill deep into the ice and extract long cylinders called ice cores. These cores are like time capsules. Inside them are samples of ancient atmosphere. Scientists can analyze the gases trapped in the bubbles. They can study dust particles, they can examine chemical changes, and from this evidence, they can reconstruct parts of Earth's climate history. Some Antarctic ice contains a record stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. It tells us that Earth's climate has changed naturally many times. There have been colder periods. There have been warmer periods. But the ice also shows something especially important. The modern atmosphere is changing at a rate that concerns scientists. Antarctica is therefore more than a frozen landscape. It is a scientific record of the planet itself, and nowhere is this more important than at the edges of the continent. Antarctica's ice sheet does not simply end at the coastline. In many places, glaciers flow slowly toward the sea. When they reach the ocean, they can form enormous floating platforms called ice shelves. Some ice shelves are larger than entire countries. They may remain attached to the continent for centuries, but they are not completely motionless. Ice is constantly moving. Some glaciers move only slowly. Others can flow much faster. And when pieces of an ice shelf break away, they become icebergs. This process is called calving. An iceberg may look enormous above the water, but most of its volume remains hidden below the surface. The visible part is only a small fraction of the whole. This is one of the most beautiful and mysterious sights in Antarctica. Huge walls of blue and white ice drift silently through the ocean. But the beauty also hides a warning. Some Antarctic ice shelves are becoming thinner, and scientists are watching these changes closely. Antarctica may seem impossibly far away, but what happens here can affect people thousands of kilometers away. The Antarctic ice sheet contains an enormous amount of frozen water. If large amounts of land-based ice were eventually lost, global sea levels would rise. The change would not happen overnight. It would take time. But even gradual changes could have enormous consequences. Coastal communities around the world could face greater risks. Low-lying islands could become increasingly vulnerable. Storm surges could reach farther inland, and major cities near coastlines could face new challenges. Antarctica also influences the world's oceans. Cold, dense water forms around the continent. It sinks and contributes to large-scale ocean circulation. These currents help move heat and nutrients around the planet. So Antarctica is connected to the rest of Earth in ways that are easy to overlook. The continent may be isolated geographically, but it is not isolated from the Earth's climate system. There is another reason Antarctica feels so mysterious. It is one of the few places where humans remain visitors. There are no permanent cities. There are no native human populations. Scientists live and work at research stations. Some stay for months. Others remain through the long Antarctic winter. During winter, conditions become extreme. Temperatures can fall incredibly low. Winds can become violent, and darkness can last for months near the South Pole. Imagine looking outside your window and seeing almost nothing but darkness, snow, and wind. There may be no trees, no roads, no towns, no sound of ordinary human life. Only the vast frozen landscape. Yet humans continue to come here. They come to study the atmosphere, the oceans, the ice, the stars, the climate, and the strange forms of life that survive at the edge of possibility. Antarctica has even become a place for studying what life might look like beyond Earth. Scientists examine organisms that survive extreme cold. They study environments hidden beneath ice, and they explore landscapes that resemble conditions on other worlds. In a strange way, Antarctica gives us a glimpse of alien environments without leaving our planet. Antarctica is also unusual for another reason. No single country owns the continent in the way countries normally claim territory. Instead, Antarctica is governed through an international system centered on the Antarctic Treaty. The treaty established Antarctica as a place for peaceful purposes and scientific cooperation. Military activity is restricted. Scientific research is encouraged. And the continent has become one of the greatest examples of international cooperation in modern history. Countries that may disagree on many issues can still send scientists to work in the same frozen environment. They share data, they study the same atmosphere, and they watch the same changing ice. In a world divided by borders, Antarctica remains remarkably different. Its landscape belongs to no single culture. Its climate affects the entire planet, and its future is connected to everyone. But Antarctica is not frozen in time. The continent is changing. Some regions are warming. Some glaciers are losing ice. Some ice shelves are becoming thinner. At the same time, Antarctica is complicated. Not every region changes in exactly the same way. The continent is enormous. Its climate is shaped by powerful winds, ocean currents, mountains, sea ice, and atmospheric conditions. That makes Antarctica difficult to study. But scientists now have satellites, radar, aircraft, autonomous instruments, and deep ice cores. Every year, they learn more. And every discovery raises new questions. How much ice can Antarctica lose? How quickly can glaciers respond to a warming climate? What happens beneath the ice? Could hidden ecosystems exist in places we have never reached? And what will Antarctica look like hundreds of years from now? We do not yet have all the answers. From space, Antarctica looks like a frozen world at the bottom of the planet. White, silent, almost untouched. But beneath that surface is something much more complicated. There are mountains, there are lakes, there is moving water, there are ancient rocks, there are traces of life, and there is a record of Earth's changing climate. The ice may appear motionless, but Antarctica is constantly moving. Glaciers flow, ice shelves crack, icebergs break away, snow accumulates, water moves beneath the surface, and the continent itself continues to shape the oceans and atmosphere around it. Perhaps that is what makes Antarctica so fascinating. It looks like the end of the world, yet it is deeply connected to everything beyond it. For millions of years, Antarctica has preserved a story written in ice, a story about ancient climates, ancient oceans, and the changing face of our planet. Today, we are only beginning to understand what lies beneath the frozen surface. Some secrets are hidden beneath kilometers of ice. Others are carried away by drifting icebergs, and some may remain unknown for generations. Antarctica reminds us that the Earth still contains places we barely understand, places that can look empty, yet contain entire worlds beneath the surface. And perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. The coldest continent on Earth may also be one of its most important, because what happens at the bottom of the world does not stay there. The ice connects to the ocean. The ocean connects to the climate, and the climate connects to every one of us. Antarctica may be thousands of kilometers from our homes, but its story is part of our story. And beneath all that ice, the Earth is still alive.